Coming up on the Sell Your Book podcast.
They would always mention how a book will help your credibility as an expert and as a speaker. So that was the main catalyst for me to just start to write the book. And then once that happened, I realized that I had so much content in me. And that's a lot of times for a lot of people. They don't realize how much content they have until they really sit down and start writing the book. So it can be intimidating, but you got to think about all the life experiences you have, all the work experience you have. You can really break that down into a book. And that's what I did. I just looked at my past experience at my jobs, also my experience as being a speaker, because that got me a unique perspective because I was able to see and talk to many of my target audience during the day in, day out when I go to the events, and they'll let me know specifically their challenges. So I just wrote some of those challenges down, and that helped me to write the book, helped me to kind of formulate all the ideas. But at the end of the day, it was mainly to position myself as more of an expert that knows what he's talking about.
Welcome to Sell Your Book. It's the podcast for existing or aspiring self-published business book authors who want to know what's working right now to help you sell more books, get more clients from your books, and expand your opportunities. If this is your vibe, you gotta subscribe. Now, let's get into today's conversation. Welcome everyone to this episode of the Sell Your Book podcast. And as you know, I'm excited about every single guest, okay, because they're all special, but I'm particularly excited about this one because I have a huge network of ladies, which is great and awesome and amazing. And so if you've been watching the first episode, you might think, well, all she interviews is women. No. Okay. So I got my first male on the podcast. So I'm excited, okay, to bring the masculine energy. Guys write books too. All right. So, these are in hand. So you know what it's about to be, okay? Because y'all don't mess with me. I just had a significant birthday, okay? And leave me alone. All right. So let's talk about our guest, which is today, Chris Cheetham-West. Chris Cheetham-West is a sought after international, y'all heard what I said. I said international speaker and author. In his former position at none other than the Google, okay? He managed marketing programs and strategies. Now, first of all, I'm a marketer, so I'm a marketing geek. I love all things marketing. So if our conversation goes left, just roll with us, okay? All right, so in his former position at Google, he managed marketing programs and strategies for key products. He has since poured his corporate experience into founding his company, LR Training Solutions. Global brands, global, Fortune 500 companies, and government agencies, big government. They all reach out to Chris for consulting and keynotes on management, marketing, and more. He and his team have worked with Pattern Beauty by Tracy Ellis Ross, worked with the Government of Canada, Charles Schwab's, Lamar Advertising, and more. Now, the reason he's on this podcast is because of the books he wrote. So let's talk about that. So first up, we have Digital Marketing for Results, How to Focus on What Matters. And he's also published Leading in a Virtual World, Leading Remote Teams, Boost Productivity, Lead Remote Teams, Boost Productivity, and Master Virtual Collaboration. So y'all, put your virtual hands together for me. And let's welcome Mr. Chris Cheetham-West. How are you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I am so excited. Now, you are a marketing person. You did marketing at Google. I think you're into like the whole what's it called? G4?
Analytics. Yep.
I'm gonna be very honest. My foray into marketing is from like a writing and a content perspective, copywriting perspective, and all of the like SEO and the technical stuff. I'm still trying to catch up, but I love that you are in that space. And at some point in time, I'm sure I'm probably going to ask a question about like, how search is working. I've been watching a lot of podcasts on that. So, but before we jump into all of that, how in the world did you get to Google? How did you get started doing what you do and getting to where you are now with your own company? Let us know.
Yeah, sure. So I got started when I went to school for a degree in marketing. So when I got the degree, I was wondering what is the best way to get into the field. And the more I did the research, the more I realized that there's internet marketing. So that's when things were really picking up and people were trying to understand like how to really market online. And so I decided to go into online marketing, just got some certifications when it comes to that topic. And then after I graduated, I was involved in marketing associations, did a lot of presentations, and then a recruiter reached out and they said they have this position where I would go around the country with other people on the team to just educate small business owners on how to grow online using Google tools. So I ended up being Google, and of course it was shocking at first, but it was an exciting opportunity. Just got a chance to really understand what it meant to be accessible online. So back then people thought, well, you had to pay 10, 15,000 to get a website. And so we were there just to educate on how easy it is and low cost and effective it can be to be online using those Google tools. And then that's when I realized that I like presenting. Now, everybody, we had to do workshops, I would say 3, 4 times a month, and I was one of the only ones that were excited about it. So I took that as a sign and decided, to start a business, and then that led to writing the books as well, because people kept asking me for details and information on how to do certain things on Google, such as SEO, analytics, and I realized that there was groups of people that knew a lot about one subject. So a lot of groups will have ideas on social media. Some groups will only know about email marketing, but they struggled with the other areas such as analytics. So the first book was specifically about going into detail about all these topics: SEO, advertising, social media, so everybody can have a good approach to all things digital marketing as well.
So when did you publish that first book?
This was 2020.
Okay.
So first book 2020.
Very pivotal year.
Yeah, right before, literally a month before the pandemic. Yeah.
All right. And since then, how and we'll get into the story of getting the book, done and all that kind of good stuff. But and I mean, it feels like things have been moving so fast because of all the things that happened in 2020. Tools like OpenAI's ChatGPT, and Google rolled out Bard and now has upgraded it to Gemini, and so many other different tools. They all just came rushing through the forefront, and Google has changed the way they lay out search. It's like now an endless scroll. You used to want to be on the first page of Google. Now it's like, where does the page end?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And then you are now getting AI generated answers. I forgot what it's called. But you're getting those involved in your searches, and you get that first before you even get to any list of traditional websites. How would you say the information that you shared in your book in 2020, how does it still kind of hold up to such rapid advancements within the last 4 years alone?
Oh yeah. So I wrote the book with the intention of making sure that it could be useful years from after I released it. Because some of the concepts, it's not specific to 1 year. Right now, search is changed a lot, but at the end of the day, the concept is still the same, that people are searching. So it's about understanding what people are searching in regards to your specific business. So when it comes to restaurants, for example, are they typing in New York restaurant or are they typing in NYC restaurant? So those will always be the same. People will always search, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Google, whether it's other social media platforms. But the idea is that you want to figure out what type of ways they're searching and how to always be on top based on the current trends at the moment. Even with social media, social media, the same thing, even though there's a lot of different platforms out there, the idea of reaching people when it comes to social, such as entertainment content, educational content, promotional content, engaging, connecting, making sure that you're talking directly to the audience. A lot of that stuff is still the same. It's just by a different method that it's being used.
Gotcha. I was literally just watching a podcast by a new friend of mine, Kendra, and guys, I'll link it in the description box below. And she was having another conversation with somebody else, and they were talking about searching it and about how it feels like, back in the day, it was all about trying to do all the white hat and black hat tricks to, game the algorithm and get that coveted, top spot. But now it's more so about really making sure you're producing content, and you're reaching people contextually. And you may not reach thousands and thousands of people, but that you're reaching the right people. And I think that could be more impactful if you're reaching hundreds of the right people. Do you need thousands? Do you need millions and millions? So yeah, I think this is such an important ongoing conversation. Okay, so let me back up. And so, how long have you had your consulting business, and how did you make that transition? And I want to ask that because a lot of the people who are watching, they are in a similar situation. They are working, and they have dreams and aspirations of making that transition from working into having their own consulting business. So, what was that transition like for you?
Oh yeah, so it was a rough transition sometimes because you never know what to expect. But what I did, I just did some planning a year before I left. So I left my job in 2014, and so the year before, I just tried to work on the business on the side. So got some clients and just I handled all the small things first, such as the website, the business cards, the logo design, understanding my target market, understanding my services. So you want to do all that early on because so you're not wasting a lot of time and energy after you leave, when it's really important to only do the revenue generating tasks. So after a year, I tried to get out there, and then I had about, I'll say 6 months of savings. And the clients that I had, it was pretty much paying 50% of my bills. So I knew that if I was able to get 50% of my bills paid, I can at least double that when I leave my job when I go full time. So I could just increase the effort. So my advice to that is just make sure you put in all the work if you can before. Some people, they want to replace all their income before they leave. Some people, they want to just leave without any income. I'm one of the type of people that I want to make sure there's some type of balance that I know is going on, right? So it's up to you.
I'm one of the ones who jumped out and said,
Hey,
guess what? I had to go crawling back, but it's okay. It's all right. It's all right.
No problem.
It's all good. You know what? Listen, when you guys listen to the Sell Your Book podcast, you're gonna get more than just selling your book. Okay, you're gonna get life advice. You're gonna get business advice. I love that. So you started your business 2014, and so you it's safe to assume that you did a lot of speaking to kind of really propel your business forward and give you visibility.
Yeah. So yeah, visibility, like email marketing. So sending out emails to my current networking and let people know what you do. So as simple as that, like your immediate network, a lot of times that people don't know, just like you mentioned earlier, Denise, is like, oh, they might have not have known that you do a service. But if you tell people like, hey, this is new business I'm starting, this is services I offer, you can get some clients just like that. That's how I got my first client. Like person in my network emailed them saying, hey, you want to be on my newsletter? They said yes. And then weeks later, they said, oh, wow, I didn't know you do SEO. I didn't know you do online marketing. And then that's how it started. And then started speaking. And then some of the speaking led to people approaching me afterwards. So that's how it really got started.
Love it. So where did the idea for writing a book come in? So your business started in 2014. You got the book out by 2020. So there's a little bit of time there. What was the impetus for writing the book? And did you consider yourself a writer before you got started?
So I really never considered myself a writer. I mean, I would write some blog posts. I knew it was important. It was one of those things where it's like I would write, but I wasn't writing consistently. But I knew that when I started writing, I enjoyed it because it's just another way of sharing information. So what got me started was I've always been like a speaker first. And so I realized after going to networking events, getting mentors and just hearing about people's stories, they would always mention how a book will help your credibility as an expert and as a speaker. So that was the main catalyst for me to just start to write the book. And then once that happened, I realized that I had so much content in me. And that's a lot of times for a lot of people. They don't realize how much content they have until they really sit down and start writing the book. So it can be intimidating, but you got to think about all the life experiences you have, all the work experience you have. You can really break that down into a book. And that's what I did. I just looked at my past experience at my jobs, also my experience as being a speaker, because that got me a unique perspective because I was able to see and talk to many of my target audience during the day in, day out when I go to the events, and they'll let me know specifically their challenges. So I just wrote some of those challenges down, and that helped me to write the book, helped me to kind of formulate all the ideas. But at the end of the day, it was mainly to position myself as more of an expert that knows what he's talking about.
Real quick, I know you're enjoying today's conversation, but do you want to write a book that helps you get clients for your business, grows your audience, and expands your opportunities, but you don't know how to get started writing this type of a book that can help you produce these results? Even if you don't feel like an expert, the very act of writing a book will help position you as one. And there is a proven path forward that will help you get what you want. I put it all together for you in my 4 steps to book writing success. Visit www.writingwithdeniserenee.com/4 steps. Not only do you get the steps, but I also give you videos for each step, breaking them down so that you would know your actionable steps to follow to get started writing your book right away. So hit pause on this episode right now and head over to writingwithdeniserenee.com/4 steps to download, and then unpause so we can get back into this conversation.
So I just wrote some of those challenges down, and that helped me to write the book, helped me to kind of formulate all the ideas. But at the end of the day, it was mainly to position myself as more of an expert that knows what he's talking about. So from the different questions and problems and challenges that the people that you were networking with and the people that you were working with had, from the different experiences you had as a business owner as well as an employee, from all those, how did you decide how to, streamline all that information and pick a direction for your book? Because if there's one thing I get as a writing coach is people are always like, I want to do this and that, and I want it to be about my life, and I want to be, and I'm like, what? Oh, it's raining it. It's raining it. So what was the process like for you to help rein in all the ideas and decide on the path that you decided to go on? Oh yeah, so I would say, I mean, you understand this of being in marketing is that I look at what does the audience want at first, because the problem with book writing is it's so easy to just say, well, I want to write a book about flower planting. It's like, but does somebody want to hear the book about flower planting? Do they want to really read that? Right? So first,
yes, you preaching. Listen, my audience now knows that when this yellow rag comes out, that means you're preaching good. Talk that talk. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So do people actually want to read it? Do people actually want to hear what you have to say? Does it really matter in the marketplace? Because if you want to make money from the book, you got to think about, do people want to read it? So that's why I would listen to the audience. I use a tool called Google Trends to figure out what is the title, what's trending. So I was like, is internet marketing trending or online marketing trending, or is it more trending when it comes to digital marketing? What is actually trending? And I found out that digital marketing is trending, right? So that's what I decided to use. And I decided to get an idea of like, what is everybody having issues with? And the main issue is, they know about Facebook, but there's so much out there. They have no idea about online pay-per-click. They have no idea about SEO, no idea about Google Analytics. So that's where I decided to narrow in on the problems that people needed help with.
Well, now, of course, you were using your little unfair advantage as a former Google marketing person, but that's okay. But I love that you went audience first. Oh my God, if I could tell people anything. Okay, this is why I have this podcast, y'all. It is because there are things that I say like over and over, but people don't hear me. So, I invite other guests on and they inadvertently wind up saying it for me. You have to be audience first. When you're thinking about writing a book that you want other people to buy and read, you have to think about them. If you only want to write what you want to write about, you are writing a journal, and that's okay. Don't try to put it online or try to sell it. Okay? As long as we're clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Audience first. So, and research. Audience first and research. I love that. So, about how long did it take you to, once you decided to write the book, about how long did it take you to put it all together? And then what was your process like? Did you get any help? Did you do everything by yourself? Yeah, what was it? What was the journey to actually getting the book written and produced?
Oh, okay. I think I would say it was a year and a half, I believe. So a year and a half. And what I did was I would try to write a paragraph each week. So some people say, well, just lock yourself in a hotel room for 4 days. That's what some people say. Some people will take their time write every week. And some people, full time, just write all day, every day. So I was one of the people that I try to hit out like a paragraph a week, you know, and then after that, I would say I set a deadline. That's probably the one thing that helped me move forward is I told myself, you know what, I'm gonna get this done in a year. It took a year and a half, but near that 3 month mark where the deadline was coming to an end, that's when I started writing every day. So I would say a year full of writing a paragraph a week or so. And then the last 3 months, that's when I was writing half the day, every day, just to get it done. And then from there, I had to figure out what the book cover was going to look like. I got the book cover idea before I even finished writing because I wanted to see what people thought about the book covers that I launched. So I had a contest and I showed people about 4 book covers just so I can get feedback. And the feedback was great because I got to get an idea of what my audience likes and what stands out if somebody were to see the book, right? If somebody want to engage with the book. So that helped. And then from there, got the printer, had to research how to publish and how to get that done and how to get the editor. So editing is a whole other issue. That's why one of the most challenging part about everything is that
now I'm laid out.
Yeah.
Now I'm laid out.
Finding a good editor. Wow. So if I had to go through 2 editors just to make sure that everything looked good. First editor, I didn't know what she was doing. Maybe she realized I was like a first time author and she was like, well, I'm just going to do whatever. But then I actually went and got it checked by another person. And then I came back. Yeah, it was came back to another and they're like, oh, wow, I made some mistakes. So they basically had the book launch, so like that's when I think I had the book launch February of 2024. So yeah, so it was definitely a process. Interview some people. I'll say interview about 8 people for the book just to get people's perspective. Recorded it on my computer and then got it transcripted and everything like that. So that, yeah, about a year and a half. A year and a half that's leading up to the book signing.
All right. So you had me over here waving the flag because you're preaching good. You had me laid out. I'm gonna get on my soapbox for just 1 second. You said a lot, and we're gonna go and unpack it all.
Okay.
But there was one thing that you said that just made me run around the church 7 times. Y'all. If you know me, then you know. One of the things that I like to tell people is you do not have to lock yourself away, try to clear your schedule to write a book. If that is not realistic, it's not realistic for you. If you set what I like to call RTGs, really tiny goals, even if it's 15 minutes a day, if it is a paragraph a day, it is better than doing nothing or waiting for this magical perfect time to come and write because it's not going to happen. It took him a year and a half. So what? Guess what? He has a book. Hello. Right? So if you feel like you're not a writer, if you feel like this is going to take too long, so don't worry about the time. Just worry about that it gets done. And whatever your pace is your pace. There are people, they could bang out a book in a day and a half. Good for them. If that's not you, that's not you. It's okay. All right. So, soapbox moment over. All right. So you took your time. I love it. Did you seek out an editor early in the process, or kind of like when you felt like you were a little bit closer to the end?
Oh, I would say I sought them out 80%, just try to get an idea, price ranges, who they were, got some recommendations from people. And so just look for people that have been doing it for a long time as well. So yeah. So like, I mean, it's good just to, you want to get all this stuff going, just like the book cover. I didn't want to wait till everything was 100% done and then get a book cover. So I was like, just do it the same, get the anticipation going, let people know you have a book coming out. I use all that for marketing. Like if I'm launching a book, hey, here's the book cover. Here's the options that I'm having. I'm working on this. Let me know what you think. So that way it's just building up, and eventually it's easier to do it. Even with testimonials, I would say that I reached out early on before it was done, just so they can get started thinking about the book and maybe reading some of the book as well. So yeah, that was kind of the process, 80%, and then trying to figure out, because you want to know the budget as well. You want to know the price ranges. You want to know what's going on. Yeah, you want to know exactly how people operate when it comes to editors. So yeah.
How much would you say, if you can answer this in a way that's most comfortable for you, but how much would you say you invested in your first book, in the whole production, from editing to book cover to layout? I don't know if you hired a layout specialist or if you did it yourself, to up to the launch. So from writing to launch, how much would you say you invested in your book?
You know what? I would say $2,000. Yeah, I would say that'd be like book launch party included. Editing, like a book cover design, layouts. I would say about 2,000, and then of course I got to buy the initial books. Yeah, $2,000. So
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah,
that's not bad at all.
Yeah. So, and I mean, it's realistic. Again, of course, you don't have to have a book launch. So it's like you could have. There's so many different like ways to do it, but I would definitely recommend an editor. You don't want to just put out anything out there and then people not be able to read it. So you definitely want to get that done at least. At least that, and a decent cover too. At least a decent cover and the editor. So.
I love how you really crowdsource feedback on the cover, because it is easy to make a decision, alone and think, oh yeah, this is great. I love this. Oh, you could love it, but if your audience is not attracted to it, they're not gonna click it and buy it. So that was brilliant, and to also just use that as a way to sort of warm your audience up and let them know, hey, I've got a book coming. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. So when you finally launched the book, you said in February, right, of 2020.
Yep. Yeah.
So when you had a physical event? Well,
yes. Yeah.
There was time to have a physical event.
I think everything shut down March
13, 14, something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you had a physical event, and so how many books would you say you sold in that? Well, wait, before I even ask you that. So you were dropping little breadcrumbs to your audience. What were some of your other activities to prepare your launch, to prepare your book launch?
Oh yeah, so a couple things. So we made sure that to email people. Already had a newsletter, so emailed people the newsletter about like, well, I'm launching a book, advice on how they want to structure it, how they would like to consume information, what type of topics they would like, and then throughout this whole process, I'm posting tips. So, for example, my book is 10 chapters. So each chapter had a tip that's connected to that chapter, and then I'll post it on social media, because a challenge with book marketing is the fact that people don't feel comfortable posting their book often. So instead, you can just take experts at like specific chapters, put out a tip, and then release those ongoing. So that way it's not just the book cover every day, all day, that you're providing value. So like, cause that's the thing, it can get played out real quick if you just pushing the book cover out. So yeah, I cut it up. Yeah, exactly. Cut it up to like multiple tips, and also did some videos about it, about the chapters. And then for my speaking engagements, I took some video footage, and then I would just talk about the book as well on that end. That helped build up the momentum. And then even when I was marketing the events, so I told people about the event, emailed people, got people signed up, and then they told some people about the book event as well. So that was a huge opportunity for just growth before the launch. So get people to hear about it before. So when the book actually launches, then you can get some sales, and then you can get people to share as well.
Excellent. All right. So how many units would you, so okay, how did you publish? So did you just do Amazon only? Did you go wide, as we like to say, in self-publishing? Did you do an audiobook? I need to remember to start asking people about audiobooks because I'm an audiobook girl. But I do notice that a lot of people don't necessarily launch with an audiobook. So okay, that's a squirrel. That's a squirrel question. So scratch that. We'll come back to the squirrel. But how did you publish? Did you just do Amazon only exclusive? Did you go wide? Did you use just your own website? How did you publish? And then I'll ask the follow-up question.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I did self-publishing. So mine was basically, it was Amazon and it was Ingram Spark as well. And then you could buy it on like the Walmart.com, BarnesandNoble.com. You could buy it on all those websites as well. And I did that because I wanted to grow as an expert quickly. And I like the profit margin when it comes to self-publishing. So if I sell my book for 20 and I'm only paying $3 to make the book, that's a big deal, So that's a big deal. And it's a way to always make money from speaking events. So let's say, for instance, for whatever reason, I'm speaking at no cost. Maybe it's a friend's event or a nonprofit association, which I do a couple times a year. I can still make money from that engagement because I have a high profit margin book. And so that was a super helpful for me to like go that route, especially early on in my business speaking career, just to establish that credibility. So did audio. Yeah, you could ask a follow-up question later about the audio, but yeah, so that was the route I took. And I did the Kindle ebook as well. So there's so many different ways people like to consume the product. So I realized that I needed to do that on that initial launch. So yeah.
Gotcha. So in, let's say, the first month of having the book, how many units would you say you sold? Were you very much on top of your numbers, or were you just like, hey, I got it done. This is really a credibility booster, and units sold and money made is like a nice little cherry on top?
Oh yeah. So I would say I sold 1,000 the first month. So 1,000 books the first month. With the event was super helpful. And then I partnered with like seminar companies that already had books that they sell to others, right? So they books that sell to others.
Hello, game.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So partner with other people that have an audience. That was super helpful because they have people that are willing to purchase. So just did some bulk orders. And then from there, whenever I'm speaking, I ask them, you can pay the speaking fee as well as do you want to pay for a set of books for everybody in the audience? So that's been huge. That's been helpful. If they say no, then I just bring the books to the conferences, and then that'll help with the sales as well. Because after you speak, you're already credible and people are willing to purchase the content. Because one of the reasons I wrote the book was to help people after my presentations. Because if you go and present, there's only so much you can do. But if you present plus you can leave something behind for them, that's super helpful because they can go into more detail after they leave the event. So that was super helpful.
Okay. So I'm very curious to know, once you launched in February, you had a good little month there, and then it was like shut down. How were you able to continue to promote your book and get sales through the first year of lockdown? Although, on the other hand, thinking about it, everybody didn't have anything else to do. So people were buying a whole lot of books at that time.
Yeah,
But how was that specific period of time for you with, we were outside and then we were inside. How did that work out for you in that first year or so?
Oh, yeah. The first year, I mean, I was comfortable promoting. I was comfortable to continue posting. Most of the time when I posted, people will purchase the book. So I think that's the challenge with book marketing, is that people stop promoting after a whole month. And that's why things can go down so quickly, as people stop promoting and they only talk about the launch for a couple of days and that's it. But I was okay with promoting it. Like, I would tell people like, hey, I just got a bulk purchase from a client. I just was able to sell some books from a client. Whenever I'll take a picture with people, I'll be sure to post them whenever they take a picture of me signing the book or writing the book. And even the book signing, I had a photographer out there, a videographer, and that helped me get content for the whole year. So just trying to stretch the content, right? Stretch the content. You go to an event, you have your book, take a picture, post it. Somebody buys a book, post it, talk about the tips, post it. Yeah, post it, everything. Yeah. Just keep going. And then trying to make these partnerships where people have that have an audience. And then, I feel like the first year was good just because I was willing to continue to promote. So it wasn't really a big, of course there was a big purchases on the first month, but it was pretty consistent just for the fact that I was still out there. And then also the fact that it's a book that came out that year. That's one reason I launched it in the beginning of the year, so that the book is always new for the whole year, right? So like launching in December, if you say this, you launch December 2023, and then it's already a year old. People look at that, So some people look at, okay, when was that book created? So,
that sounds like you were sneaking, looking up some Google Trends. That's what that sounds like to me. Yeah. You're looking at trending.
Yeah, trending. Yeah.
That's okay, but it's smart to do. Hello, we in business, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's take on that little squirrel question. So, did you do an audiobook version of it? If so, why? If not, why not?
Oh yeah, I did an audiobook version, but I didn't do it until like 2 or 3 years later, but it still works. I mean, because I was driving one day and I was listening to audiobooks most of the time, and I thought to myself, like, if I'm consuming information through audiobooks, why isn't my book in audio? So that's when I was like, you know what? And then I did some posts on social media to figure out how people like to consume their content. And usually it's about 50% of people usually say that, audio. I think you said you do audio too. I do audio half the time, I believe. So I was like, let me go ahead and do the audio version so it can give people different options. And then even if it's late after you launch, it can still be considered like a new book because you posted it on Audible as well.
Let me tell you something. People tell me about books all the time, and I'm like, is there an audio version? Because if there's no audio, I'm not reading it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
My business is, writing and reading all the time, but it's like if I'm busy doing it for clients, or I'm busy doing it for, the contract position that I'm in. I don't have time, but I have time to listen while I'm working on something else. So there are those people who are just going to be your audio customers. And so I would definitely encourage people, do not leave that out. Did you read it yourself, or did you hire someone else to do it? What was the process for that? And if you don't mind sharing, what was your investment for that?
Oh yeah, I would say, is it 500, I believe? Yeah, about 500. So, I mean, on the lower end on that end. But yeah, so I read it myself because I'm a speaker. So getting people to understand and connect with me. But some people, they decide to go the route where they hire people. Nothing wrong with that. So even when I'm listening to audiobooks, sometimes it's hard for me to listen if the voice isn't good, right? So if it's like, there's some books out there really recommended, but after the first chapter, if I can't like connect with the voice, I just take it out. So, but again, so since it's like more of a business oriented, trying to grow my business type of book, I was like, let me go and read it myself. So that's what I decided to do. But it wasn't too much of an investment. It's really one of those things, just like writing a book. It's just getting everything together, go in and get the files edited so it meets the Audible guidelines. So that was a challenge to figure that out. But once you do it, there's always people out there you can hire to help you out in all the process of writing a book from start to finish. Don't be afraid to seek out help with any little thing you have. If it's book writing, you got Denise, right? If it's anything you need, you go to the experts. Go to the experts. Go to the experts or people that have written a book before. Talk to your network and get encouragement, get motivation, and get people that will help you move forward. And just set those deadlines for yourself to get it done, whether it's the audio or the written or the Kindle version.
So, given that your book is tightly connected to your business, and those are the types of people that I work with as a book writer, book writing coach, and editor. I'm working with people kind of like yourself. They have an expertise, they have a business, or they have experience in the corporate world, and they want to transition into being a speaker, into being a consultant. And so, having that book to like legitimize and validate and all that kind of good stuff. Is what they want to do. How would you say your book has impacted your business, your growth, and your bottom line from having since you published your first book, as opposed to the first 6-7 years or so of your business? So, BB, what was it like before the book, and what was it like after the book?
Okay, yeah. So it was good. It was definitely a different experience because once I published a book, I got more credibility. So I would do a lot of presentations and then everything will be normal. That's a great presentation. But once I had a book and I showed them that I had a book afterwards, it was a lot more credibility. And then for some reason, more people would reach out about consulting services. I don't know if my presentations got better or just the book, but I think it was the book, right? And so that's how I landed some opportunities because, well, the person has a book. At least it confirms that you know what you're talking about. It confirms. Not everybody has to have a book, to be an expert or to be a consultant, but at least a book confirms that, hey, the person knows what he's talking about. She knows what he's talking about, and he can go into detail about it. And this person can probably help out if I decide to work with this person. So yeah, it definitely helped out. I mean, it's still helping out today, having different books, because that's something that can help you stand out. I know a lot of people have books, but it's still relatively rare if you think about it. Depending on your industry, if you have a business, if you have something that you're trying to do, and in the industry, most people don't have books, you're still not going to see people with a whole bunch of books. So again, it's definitely a way to help you stand out whenever you're trying to get more opportunities.
Would you say that you've gotten more inbound opportunities a whole lot easier since having your books, rather than having to do a lot of pitching?
Yeah, definitely more inbound, because what it is like when people go to my website, let's say they find my website on Google, they go to my website, I make sure to tell people when they get there in written format, well, here's the books that I've written, here's the topics of the books. So it helps people go ahead and make that decision to connect and send those messages, move the whole process a little bit faster, because there's not that many more questions as it was before when I didn't have a book, as far as the expertise and what I'm going to talk about, what I'm going to go over. So yeah, it definitely speeds up the process.
So, what got you to write the second book, and when was that released?
So the second book, I would say it was 2022. So 2022 was the second book, and that's when I realized that there is a huge opportunity, because I've been working on a remote team for years at Google. I was on a remote team for the most part. Right now, I have a remote team of people that I manage. So there's a huge issue when it comes to managing remotely and just leading virtually. And with all the technology coming out, metaverse, I decided to write a book on that to speak to those challenges. So that right there helped me out get more opportunities. And it just goes over topics such as managing remote, leading remote, working on remote, having good, effective meetings while remote, just employee engagement while you're working on teams, and just overall how to communicate and reach goals while you're in this remote environment. So that's what drew me to write that second book.
Was it also a trending topic?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. There we go. You getting it. Yeah.
I got it. I got it. Google Trends, y'all. Google Trends. If you don't know what to write about, go to Google Trends.
Trending topic. Exactly.
Awesome. So second book comes out. Did you, what's the second book? Does that have an audio book? Okay. You see how my brain my brain is always a squirrel. So you don't have an audio book on that one yet?
No.
Okay. Do you find that one is a little bit more niche in terms of who your audience is and who you're talking to? Because digital marketing is I feel like it's kind of broad, where it catches the corporate people and it also catches, the solopreneurs and everyone in between. But leading remotely, that may kind of skewer a little bit more towards corporate leaders. Do you find that you're getting maybe more sales on the first book over the second one because the audience is smaller? And if so, and if I'm making the wrong assumption, still, I'd love to know what are the types of opportunities that book is helping to pull in for you?
Yeah, so it's different audiences, but just like you mentioned earlier, it might have less sales, but it's more targeted to corporate. So, for example, okay, well, if 10 people get the book, but those 5 of those people are executives, that's a win for my business because that's who the target is. So, where the marketing can reach small business individuals, corporate, this book, less sales, but more targeted, and it has had me get larger opportunities with the corporate audience. That helps me sell the book larger quantities to them as well. So yeah, I think it's definitely something to realize when it comes to marketing in general. It's like it doesn't have to be always high traffic. Sometimes it can be low traffic, but the ticket sales are higher volume, the ticket price is higher, and you can still reach the same goal just because you are reaching that right audience.
Mic drop, talk drop, everything. There's nothing else needs to be said. Actually, yes, there is. What would you say to someone? What would you say to someone who is, kind of at that beginning stage of, I want to write a book. I know that this could be good for me, but I'm nervous. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I don't, what would you say to that person to help encourage them get started on their writing and self-publishing journey?
I would say start small. Start with just a couple sentences. Start with the chapter list. Like start writing those different chapters when you first start. That'll help you out. Break everything down to small bites, and then just get started. That's the most important, part of it is to just get started. And just remember, you have a book in you. You just have to start writing. Then you'll realize all your experiences, work, personal, you just have to bring it out by like starting the write. Once you start the write, it's gonna keep coming. And then also get help. Get help, get the experts out there, read the articles, read the blogs, so you can get to the finish line. And once you do it, it's gonna be a great feeling to have your own book. And it's gonna increase your credibility and it's gonna help you have something to leave with your friends or event attendees.
And by the way, I don't know if y'all can see, but your books make for a nice backdrop.
Yeah. There you go.
When you're on your virtual meetings, on your Zooms or anything like that, or you're on a presentation, it's just nice to just not just silent flex.
Yeah, it's there.
I love it.
Audio, paperback, or Kindle.
Listen, get it. Excellent. Thank you so much, Chris. Where can people find you and connect with you if they would love to get more and get a hold of your books?
Yeah, so LinkedIn, Chris Cheetham-West. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and also you can connect on my website, chrisinwest.com. And the books are on Amazon, so you can definitely connect on Amazon. If you want bulk orders, go to chrisinwest.com and then we can connect and we can work something out.
Excellent. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to put up with my squirrel brain and antics
was
And
great.
but most importantly, for really sharing your journey, your book writing journey and selling journey with the audience. Thank you so much. And you guys and gals, book writers, I will see y'all